It is an abomination to meet somebody and after living the person's life, the person is worse. It's an abomination. Leadership is the act of helping people become more. Not everybody who wants to be a leader that ends up becoming a leader. True or false? Hold your neighbor's hand and say, do you know who I am? If you know who I am today, you're going to buy me lunch tomorrow. How many of us realize the African condition? I've been thinking about the African condition. I've been thinking about something totally different. I've been thinking about how to inspire visionary leadership in Africa and how to be able to make a huge difference in the quality of our leadership capital in our continent. And so that's what I'll be sharing with you today. So if I ask a question, I say, is there anybody here that has got a vision? And I see how many hands up. You know you have a vision, truly. You have a big vision for Africa. Can I see your hand? One of the greatest things I found out recently is that there are too many people occupying public positions without vision. There are several people that are occupying public position without vision. Societies make progress as a result of the quality of leadership capital per time that is available within systems. When you have institutions that have people with great level of vision within those institutions, they have the ability to take an idea from one level of growth to another level of prosperity. That's what they do with ideas, literally. And so it is not enough to be busy. We have so many executives in Africa that are very busy. And I can also assure you, we have a lot of young people in Africa that are actually also very busy. If being very busy is equal to having a vision, then the whole of Africa would have been developed. True or false? It is not even about being busy, because even ants are very busy. How many of you know that? You want to learn business? How many of us want to learn business? Business, if you want to learn business, go and ask the ant how to be busy, because they are champions of business. And so the context of what I'm talking about is not a context of, oh, I am very busy. I'm looking for people with a great sense of vision within their hearts. So inspiring visionary leadership in Africa becomes a thorough responsibility at the moment. I have started listening to some of the African leaders talk most recently, and I have suddenly realized that so many African vision leaders operate in a realm that is not visionary indeed. And so they cannot survive, because the world is now become a dynamic place. The world has become such a dynamic place that what keeps you ahead is the quality of the vision that you carry. How many of you know that is true? So inspiring leadership in Africa is the most important task for the moment, because when visionary leaders come, they make things happen. When visionary leaders come in any system, what do? They make things happen. Things happen. Things cannot be at a place when you have visionary leaders. It's impossible. It's impossible. If a visionary comes into a room that is dirty, what does a visionary leader do? What does he do? A visionary leader sees a clean room. That's what he sees. And because he sees or she sees a clean room, the makeup of that leader is restless. Is that not true? Until the room is clean. Because the content of vision is a strong level of restlessness. How How many of you have read this beautiful book? Not at East at Zion or something. Remember the book? You can't be at East at Zion, something like that. Who can remember that book? You cannot be a person of vision and you are consistent and good with the status quo. If you look at your state right now, you know your state is not what it's supposed to be. True of us. How can you be at ease in that state? Because there's inability to see the future. The leader at every point in time, his business is not to think about yesterday. Huh? How many of you know that? The journey of leadership is not a journey of a thought process that is always looking backward. It's not a thought process that is looking at the reality of what is. It's a thought process that is always in the business of looking at the future. The conversation of a leader is always about what? The future. What is to come? What has to come? What has to happen? What has to be? What has to be created? What has to be invented? What has to become? Does that make sense at all? If you see an individual whose language is in that regard, you're talking about somebody with the capacity to be able to generate a level of changes within society, within institutions, and within organizations. So our core objective is to see how we can create and inspire a group of visionary leaders to emerge in Africa. Because I can tell you that the way Africa is conditioned, the conditioning of Africa is such that it creates people who are quite satisfied with the status quo. True of us. The African condition creates people who no longer think about the future. Who are always thinking about what? The immediate what? Gratification. Is that not true? What I get now, in any business, in any conversation, it is about what? Now. That's the point. That's the kind of situation we find ourselves in Africa. So visionary leaders are the builders of what? New dawn. They are social what? Innovators. They are change agents. They are strategic what? Thinkers. Visionary leadership require core values, clear vision, empowering relationships, and innovative action. The core of the matter is that you cannot be in that realm of visionary leadership if you cannot create an action or a series of action that can bring about something new. So what that state of mind does to you as an individual is to get to a point where you want to change something. Is that not true? You get to a point of thinking where you want to do what? Change something. And there are two sources of change. Two sources of change. The first critical source of change is what you call desperation. What is that? What? Desperation. Desperation is what happens, right, at a place where people are uncomfortable, right, with a situation. But guess what? Because they have not envisioned that change is going to happen, right? It gets to a point where it is not activated by these individuals. So what normally happens in this point of desperation is that fear grips individuals at that point in time. And so when crisis happens, right, then change happens. It is out of what? Desperation. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Right? You want to change a particular condition, but you have not activated the change process as a result of vision. And then suddenly, at the last minute, something happens, right? It enabled crisis to happen for that change situation. Let's say there's a revolution in the system, right? What happens is that it forces a lot of change to happen, but the change is not sustainable, isn't it? Because it wasn't created by deliberate envisioning process. It's correct, my friend. That's what it is. So people panic, and what happens? Huh? So in this hall right now, I tell you, in this hall right now, people are looking at themselves right now and they're like saying, can I really become anybody in this country? How many of you have ever asked that kind of questions? Be very candid to yourself. You have asked it, can I become, the way Nigeria is now, can I become something? Can I really become, is it possible for me to become something? You were in that state of thinking. Can I become something? And so the desperation will cause you to make a lot of what? Mistakes. Take the wrong steps. Join the wrong group. Talk to the wrong group of people. At the end of the day, nothing happens to you. That's not the kind of leadership that we want to. We're talking about leadership that generates as a result of what? Change that occurs as a result of aspiration. As a result of what?
Aspiration.
Aspiration born out of vision. If you look into your heart, there's an aspiration. There's something you want to accomplish. There is something that you want to become. There's something you want to invent. There's something you want to do. There's something new you want to bring to exist in the marketplace. But you cannot make it happen until you get into that realm where aspiration is what drives your change. It's vision. That's what happens. So what is the current realities of the leadership in Africa? As I'm talking to you right now, for the past 4 years, Mo Ibrahim has been going about with $5 million. Every year, he gives $5 million. Any president of Africa that does great as president, I dash you $5 million. And he has not seen anyone to give $5 million. Today, the Namibian president has just been announced as the winner after what? 4 years. He's just outgoing. He's about living. He's gotten $5 million for being a president that has done great stuff, isn't it? Why is it difficult to get a president to give $5 million to? Huh? Could it be that a lot of people are saying to this president, what is $5 million? How many of you are asking that question right now? You just ask the question. Say to this president, what is $5 million? But the significance of that is that when somebody is visionary, right, it might not bring about economic growth for that person. True or false? It's true or false? The fact that you're visionary does not mean that as a political head of a country, you become a billionaire. But you might become a billionaire by virtue of what your vision has created within the system. You have made many become great and comfortable. What happens to that situation is that you are now a billionaire in terms of social capital. Does that make sense at all? How many of you think as a result of social capital, you don't think about, so the African condition, the reality is that the problem of leadership in Africa today is faced by various factors, including what? Number one, reality is what? Ask yourself, are you selfish? What did you say? No. Now, let me tell you, you are in a clinic. What did I say? This place is a clinic. It's not a place where you want to do what you call high boy. You know what I mean? High boy, big boy, all of that. It is a clinic. You have to answer. Look, in leadership development, you must get to a point where you answer for yourself in your heart. True or false? We're not saying that raise your hand to say I'm selfish. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that if you can answer these questions, then you know whether you belong to the next generation of leaders or whether you still belong in the old. You can be a young person and you still belong to the old. Your ideology is still what? The old. So, are you selfish? Selfishness is key. It's current reality. Number two, ethnic what? Sentiment. Is that a reality today or not? Is what? is 200%. So there's ethnic what? Reality. All across Africa, isn't it? People are saying, you are not from the same place where I am from. So you ask yourself, do I belong to that? Do I belong to this set of people? It is segregation. That's what it is. It is thicker than what? Segregation. The difference is that the other persons are white, right? And you've got black skin. Now, if you not do it amongst your black, that's sad, isn't it? So how can vision thrive in that reality where division is present? Is it possible for vision to thrive? Because anybody who has got vision, they shoot him down, isn't it? They tell him, oh, this man, no. When he becomes this, what happens to our own tribe? But you don't know that vision doesn't think about color. Vision doesn't think about where you come from. This is a reality. If we don't understand this reality, we can't make progress. The other one is what? Lack of vision. Lack of vision. I keep asking this question. Do you agree with me that in this continent, so many people do what? So many people do what? What happens when people lack vision? Are people perishing in Africa? Yes. Simple questions. These are realities. People lack vision, so what happens? I've repeated this. I want 5 people to come. Let me show you something. 5 people, quickly come. 5 people. Please come. 5 people. Now, come, join them. Thank you. Now, I want you to stay here. All of you stay here. All right, on the line. Yes, stay on the line. No. I mean straight line. All right. You close your eyes. Close your eyes. You open your eyes. But don't say a word. My friend, if you hear whenever I say anything, just follow me there. Anywhere you hear a word from me, follow me there. But don't open your eye. Don't open. All right? Just follow me. If I say come, you come. Come. Please come. Are you seeing the reality of the state we are in Africa? Yes. Confusion, slowness, stagnation, lack of direction, guesswork, tombo, guesswork. How can prosperity come under that situation? Tell me, how can? Now, the man whose eyes were open saw the situation. Did he say a word? If he says a word, he will lose. He will lose from the pori he gets from these guys. He will only tell Okorie, sir. That's all he can say. At this stage, he can see. He knows this guy is not good. He knows, guys, he will say, oh God, the song you sang today was very beautiful. In fact, that speech you made was fantastic. Now, see a situation. Your eyes are now open now. Your eyes are open. You are, close your eyes, but hold this man. Close your eyes. If I say come. Come. What did you see? Absolutely. Put your hands together for these guys. So you only need to paint a picture of the reality where you find yourself in. If you don't have this kind of picture, you think you have time. There's no time. Time is running out. Huh? There's a sense of urgency in what I'm talking about. So when I wake up and I think the way I think, a lot of times, sometimes I think I'm in a lone world. Have you ever been in that state where you're like wondering, is there anybody who can just open your heart and just think the way you're thinking? Because you are thinking in one direction, people are thinking in what? In different direction. They stay at the realm of reality. Nepotism, egocentrism, isn't it? Inability to differentiate between self and what? And others. And then greed. There's a book that I'm about to read titled Infectious Greed. Infectious what? Greed. That was what led to the collapse of the capital markets in the world. Huh? Because if you don't have vision, that's where you stay. So what you think about is the now. How do I acquire wealth? That's what you think about. Even at your level right now, when wealth has not touched your hand, some people are already thinking like that. True of us. If you want to know what I'm talking about, if I decide to do an assignment here now and I bring out $1,000 and I spread it like this, and I say it's for free, cheap like this. If I try that now and I say, go and get it, you see commotion here. I'm talking about 1,000 what? Dollars. Commotion. So it's the moment kind of thinking that we have. That's what happens there. Greed. Right now, in the political space, so many people are bringing all kinds of programs now to acquire money from the political class. True of us? After this election, these programs will die natural deaths. Forever. All right? Another 4 years again, they dust it, and then they now come again afresh. Year after year. And we're not making progress. That's the true situation of the African condition. Let's go. My question is Africa as an entity investing to change the reality? Do you have enough evidence and conviction that Africa is investing, leaders of Africa is investing in the future of Africa? Do you have a conviction on that? No. Do you sincerely think so? No. You don't think so? Now, if the leaders are not, do you sincerely think that you by yourself, you have taken the responsibility of preparing for your future? Do you think you have taken the responsibility? If you have, can I see your hand? You have. You have, right? You have? You said? 70%. How many percent? Above 100. 100%. Good. Now, I'm going to come back to this later. Because in times where society cannot make progress, individuals take responsibility by themselves to create visions. And those visions will inspire the change process. That is when somebody invents something new. That is when somebody creates an organization that becomes a blessing to society. That's when somebody creates a business. That's when somebody's out of sleepless nights creates something that becomes a blessing to society. A burden enters for the sake of the common good. That is when it happens. It is in times like this. In fact, it is in times like this that people make the investment in themselves top priority like never before. So, For Africa to develop to the enviable continent of our dream, the importance of leadership development cannot be what? Overemphasized. So strong emphasis on the importance of teaching, citizenship, education, skills development, content development, all kinds of development, personal development, everything must happen right now. Because I bet you Africa is getting to a point right now where if you don't know anything, you can't become anything. Does that make sense at all? Yeah. It's not going to be about who you know. It's going to be about what? What you know. About your attitude, about your skills, about your standards, about the things that make you count. That's where we're going to. Let's go. So, we must continue to create forums and programming systems and technologies and gatherings, town hall meetings. We must continue to create a learning system that will make it happen. Some of those learning systems will come to you for free. Some will not come to you what? For free. Some, you have to identify the training needs that what you really need. Do you get what I mean? And that is why I respect a country like America. You know what they do? There's a program that they call their National Leadership Conference. You know what they do? High school kids are expected to pay to attend a conference about a couple of thousands of dollars every year in Washington. What do? They are asked to pay that. So what they do is that they give them a guide on how to raise money to attend the conference. So you have a teenager who must be in Washington to join other young people to develop themselves. So what do? They write a plan. They create a budget and say it will cost me $5,000, $3,000 to be in Washington. Now, how do I get to Washington? They create a list of associations. I have my parents, right? I have my guardians, right? Friends of the family, companies around my organization, people who share what I share, and then I create work for myself. If it is washing cars and smiling, I do it. They create a plan. By the time all this is happening, they begin to execute those plans. And at that particular time, they are in Washington developing themselves. Can you see that? Now, how many of you will be given an opportunity to attend a program that will bless you, that will grow you, that will make you become better? And they say, you're going to pay 300,000 naira, for instance. And immediately, your interest dies. Who has ever experienced that before? That's excitement. I have had situations whereby there was a time where we announced the Emerging Leaders Conference. One man like that called with passion. Say, I'm a leader of extraordinary strength. Everybody in my community recognizes my contribution. I want to be selected to this conference. And then, they now said, the conference fee is 25,000. The man said, thank you very much. He cut the phone. He did what? The leader in him disappeared automatically. Because the system where we are living, the African system, has not put a price to knowledge. Isn't it? It is learning by convenience. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Learning by convenience is what has existed in our continent. Huh? What did you say? Okay. Now, the context of what I'm talking about, what I mean by learning by convenience, is that if it's comfortable, I learn. If it is uncomfortable, learning, bye-bye. Do you know that those of you who say you don't have money, do you know that there's a level of investment that you can put on your mind, and you develop such a big vision that by the time you put all your documents together, money will begin to look after you? Who told you that those who are great today, who are people influencing the world today, who said they all had it together? It was vision that distinguished them. Nobody, all of the guys you listen to today, all of them, they were guys who went after knowledge and created things for themselves. We are at rest, but we're in a state of war. Do you understand what I mean by that? How can you be at rest when you are in a state of war? You don't understand that? Huh? How can you? How can you be at rest when you are in a state of war? You don't think that you're in a state of war? Huh? There's a sense of extinction going on. It's either you have a vision that is enduring, that you can pay the price to make it happen. Apart from that, you just 0 point. It's 0 point. I can tell you that. Let's go. Limitation of the current African leadership structures. First of all, is what? Number one is what? Is corruption a concern? Is it a concern? Yes. So if you're asked here in this hall, are you corrupt? What would you say? What would you say? No. Eh? Personal question. Is what? A personal question. Good. The culture of God what? How many of you believe that a note must give to get you a job? Somebody writes you a note, you get a job. How many of you? Is there anybody who doesn't have a job here? Can I see your hand? You don't have a job. 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 You're not working. You don't have a job, right? Good. Nice tie, nice suit. Wonderful. Right? Now, I'm making an analysis. You don't have a job. Why don't you have a job? You're not looking for a job. So it's not you I'm talking about now. If you're not looking for a job, you are an entrepreneur. You own your own thing. It's not you I'm referring to. Didn't you say I say beautiful suit? I'm asking, who doesn't have a job? You're not even seeing yourself as an entrepreneur. Neither you don't have a job. You want, if they employ you now, you will rush and take it. Tell me, who doesn't have a job? Oga, please stand. You don't have a job. Handsome man like you. Now, see where I'm heading to. The man says he doesn't have a job, right? Now, do you know that in this country, there are so many institutions in this country that are looking for somebody to solve a problem for them? Whether private, whether government owned, whether individual owned, there's somebody asking for somebody to solve a problem. True or false? How many job letters have you written? Like you've sent your CVs? You've sent it to many. When you send, you just send to all kinds of places, believing that they'll call you. Now, how many times have you been driven by saying, this is what I want to do, all right? This is a vision I want to realize. And you identify a company, an organization, and say, I want to research this organization from A to Z. Everything that they do, all right? And you find a problem in that organization. Have you ever done that? Like you say, for the purpose of finding a role to play. Have you ever done that? Listen. Are you hearing me? The thoughts started doing what? The thoughts, but have you ever done it? You haven't. Now, the man said he has not done it. The thought is coming. Now, can I tell you something? That a man who wants to make a difference within an organization, all these guys, they say they don't have jobs. I laugh. Because if you say you don't have a job, And so, submit CVs all over the place. That's air. It's what? In the air. If you don't have a job, find 2-3 companies you want to identify with. And let your sense of vision. You come into that company, what do? You stroll around. You say, one day, I'm going to work in this company. Isn't it? Your sense of imagination is at work. And then you study the system, walk around the system, study the system, and you suddenly realize that there's a challenge here. You know what you do? You write a letter to that company, organization, describe the problem, put a solution, and say you want to do it for free. How many of you agree with me? That you want to do it for free? You come, Nigerians like cheap labor. First thing first, they say no salary. Yes. Okay, come. They'll put you, no problem, they'll add you. Once they add you, you start solving the problem. And the impact is felt. That is a winning attitude. If you have vision, that's the kind of thing I will do. I did it myself. I didn't just become a Linus Okorie. I'm still becoming, but I didn't just become a Linus Okorie. I saw somebody who has got what I wanted, and I went to say, I don't want to work for any bank. I want to work for this man. I was earning 30,000 naira every month. I was working for Pat who told me. All I wanted was to become your research and executive assistant, because I know that this is where I'm going to. If I research for a man like this, are you hearing me? Who is a very powerful speaker and his brain is electric. If I research for him and he approves my work, are you hear what I'm saying? If he tells me, this is good, this is good, as he loves knowledge, he tells me that, what does it do to my self-confidence? So you wouldn't, I will never ever go to do work and I do it shabbily. What do? I put my entire heart to it. He was paying me how much? But I put my heart to it because I saw a vision that most of you think if you have a vision, it will happen now. That's the problem of Africa. You see something that you call imagination, big thing. You want it to happen now. Does it happen now? Is life not a process? There's a growth process. A big vision is there, but we want to jump into the big thing immediately. Huh? You want to just come into an office, you start competing with your chief executive officer. Is that how to work? Yeah. I'm going for lunch. Lunch. Meanwhile, before you came, you were begging for a job. You were begging for a job. And finally you got it. And you look at those who employed you with disrespect. That's not nice. It's no vision at all. Vision shows, I stayed for 2 years with Patotomi up to today. Patotomi calls me. I call him up. We're like, you understand? He kept recommending me. He kept what? Recommending me. He kept recommending me. There is nothing as, if you leave an office and nobody recommends you, you are in trouble. Because people will always come back. Where have you worked before? Is that what they ask you when you're changing jobs? Where have you worked before? How did you leave? You say, no, that your boss is a wicked man. Immediately, they know that this is not somebody we should employ. They know. So you build your personality around service. Vision. Anybody who says he doesn't have a job, you're not interested in working. There are a lot of organizations in this country that just want free jobs. Go and give it to them. When you give it to them, you gain experience. When you gain experience, your value go up. And when your value go up, people see your impact. What do? They employ you. When they employ you, I've seen people rise like that. And very soon, the person was manager. They take him up to another country. And they say, who is next? Necessity will do what? Will put responsibility on you. The next thing is that you are the man in charge. You do your job well. That's how to go in this country. That's how to go for Africa. The Africa of the future is a working young people, not a blaming young people. Did you hear what I said? Not your sort of young people that go to the internet and talk rubbish all day. Have you listened to young people lately? Have you seen what they write lately? Is it driven by vision? It's junk. Junk. That's not the way to go. Godfatherism won't take you too far. The best it can do is to give you a job, but it can't keep you there. If they don't want to offend their boss, what would they do? If they don't want to offend your godfather, they'll make you irrelevant. You know it's possible to give somebody a salary and the person is so irrelevant in your organization. You make the person so what? Irrelevant. When things matter, nobody talks to you. You just stay there. You think you're doing yourself good. You're saying, so a lot of people will enjoy it. They say, I don't have work to do. They will enjoy it. I don't have work to do. That you don't have work to do is shame on you. Because it means that you won't learn anything what? New. Lack of what? Leadership skills. I was listening to the president of Gambia today. The president of Gambia, I don't know how many of you have listened to that man. Yeah, I think that guy has some great ideas. I think so. I listened to him today and I was like, yeah, he was describing a lot of things happening in Africa and the Western influence on African leaders. And a lot of the people who do not have leadership skills in Africa, they become what you call humble. And what? Humble towards what? The West. Do you get what I mean? So because they don't have leadership skills, the best thing for them to do is to do what? Become submissive, even while they are sovereign nations. That's what happens. So if you don't have leadership skills now, sorry, because tomorrow Nigeria will be looking for those with leadership what? Skills. They will no longer be looking for those with godfathers. Your leadership skills will make a way for you. That's the point. Just what I'm saying. That's the way to go.
GOTNI, building outstanding leaders.